And then these Kickstarter questions for you are just an opportunity for us to really get a chance to know you and get a chance to get a feel for who is joining us today. So our ask is that, you share about where you're signing on from. This always amazes me. Like last time we had a webinar, we had somebody from Switzerland. And so I always love seeing when we have people like show up from all over the country. A little bit about your business or your role as well. Obviously we're all coming from different backgrounds, walks of life. So we'd love to know kind of where you're coming from as you come to this session. And then additionally, what you're hoping to learn today. There's many different things that we could share with you about social media. And that was one of the big challenges for Allena and I, as I was helping her craft this session, was like, we could share everything and we want to give you guys everything. But if there's particular little nuggets that you are hoping to hear from us or learn from us today, please go ahead and share that in the chat. And if you don't know me, I'm going to just introduce myself real quick, and then I'm going to turn the keys of the kingdom over to Allena. So I am Madeline Reeves. I am the founder and CEO of Fearless Foundry. We are a creative consultancy that is, it's funny, I'm like, we're based in the internet because we have an amazing team of female and non-binary folks who work for us all over the United States. So I'm based in the Pacific Northwest, but my team is all over the country. And we do a lot of things for founders. We really help them, grow and scale sustainably through marketing, branding, and business development strategy. And we work with all sorts of founders, but we particularly pride ourselves in working with what we call underestimated founders, which are often underrepresented individuals who are really coming into industries and being change makers. So I'm so honored and excited that you all decided to join us today. And again, if you're just joining, please just go ahead and mute yourself until we get to the Q&A portion. And then if you haven't already, utilize the chat to contribute throughout today's session and to answer our kickoff questions. But we're at 11:04, so I'm going to get this party started. I'm turning the keys of the kingdom over today. Before I let her introduce herself, I just want to tell you how amazing this woman is. My very first hire at Fearless Foundry, as in terms of hiring a full-time employee, was Allena Fleming, and Allena is a leader within our team. She is who I go to for any questions about social media. She is also in charge of not only the social media strategies for our company, but also all of our clients. And so in terms of somebody who not only, if you're one of those people who saw this webinar in social media and joined it because of that marketing, Allena was the force behind that, but she also is the force behind all social media strategy for the clients we serve. So she is a powerhouse, and I could not be more excited for her to lead this session today. So Allena, take us away.
All right. Hi, everyone. So today we will be discussing how to change up your social media. So just a little pretext before I introduce myself, like social media is changing every single day. Like we know that, we see that, we observe that. So this webinar today, we're going to focus mainly on how we deal with societal changes, how we deal with creating authentic content, and how do we just find our authentic voice overall on social media. So about me, my name is Allena, and I am the digital media and design manager here at Fearless Foundry. I'm currently in Houston, Texas, but I started my social media journey about 6 or 7 years ago. My first ever non-personal social media gig was for a arts festival that I created at my college, and I was in charge of all the social media and all the proposal writing and all the things that created content to sell tickets to our community locally in the school, and also our outside community of the little town that it was in. I have lived through MySpace. I have lived through the evolution of all social media platforms. So I definitely feel like I am here to give you all of my knowledge, and we can also learn together here. So just a little bit of our agenda today. So first thing we're going to talk about is authentic content creation. So really breaking down what that word authentic means. We know that Instagram is telling us, and they literally sent out a post that said, lower the bar. What does that mean? You've been telling us for months to create this high quality content. So now you're telling us to lower the bar. So we're going to go in depth about what they mean by that, and also like how do you find ways to create authentic content that is out of the box. Then we're going to talk about the power of creators and influencers. So a lot of people don't know how to leverage their UGC creators and their influencers properly. You can use influencers and UGC creators basically at no cost at all. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about societal mindset shifts that are happening in the social world. Like for months, people have talked about, we're leaving Instagram, we're leaving Instagram. If you're a marketer who literally focuses on Instagram, what do you do when everyone is saying that they're leaving Instagram and your business or your clients' businesses are on these platforms? And then lastly, we're going to talk about creating experiences. And when I mean creating experiences, I'm talking about creating things that are completely different from what other people are doing. So taking those ideas and giving you guys some ideas of how you can put a spin on those things. So we're gonna first take a little trip down memory lane and look at all of the platforms that exist. So there are so many platforms. These are the ones that, one, we use here at Fearless, or ones that I'm personally like in love with. So I've categorized them. Obviously, they all kind of cross post now because everyone's trying to be everyone, but I'm talking about them for their original pieces that they came onto the world for. So we first have social networking. So these are mainly focused on creating community, creating conversation, making connection. We have Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Then we have image sharing. So that's your Instagram. That's the new app BeReal, which is mainly focused on video sharing, not video sharing, image sharing. We have Snapchat that also does videos, but originally its main concept was photos. And then we have Pinterest that is also considered a bookmarking app too. Then we have video sharing. So we have Instagram with obviously their reels. We have TikTok that is completely blowing every single platform out the water right now. We have Pinterest again, because Pinterest is also getting in the world of video sharing. And we have YouTube. Now, I want to talk about YouTube just a little bit. YouTube is a very powerful platform that I think people really don't think about it. YouTube's highest demographic is 50 and plus. And right after that is children. The reason people really love YouTube is because they love content that they don't have to pay attention to, but also they like content that helps them experience something that they possibly can't experience at the moment. That's why the Disney videos of people going into the Disney parks do so well, videos of people creating certain pieces, vlogs, because people want to see what other people are doing, especially if they can't obtain that experience at the moment by themselves. So that's one thing to consider. When it comes down to social audio apps, so we have obviously Clubhouse. Clubhouse, people are saying Clubhouse is dead, but Clubhouse is not dead. Clubhouse is a place where they're having a lot of conversations about tech, a lot of conversations about social media and how to leverage social media. There's a lot of gurus on there. A lot of people are talking about just things that are happening in the news and stuff like that. So it is not a dead platform. It still exists. We also have Riff. So Riff is pretty new. Riff is really targeted to TikTokers. So they've done a great job of moving TikTokers from TikTok to Riff. It's a social audio app, but also a video component. So you can really engage with your audience. And it's really also their mission is to community build through social audio apps. Then we have Twitter with Twitter Spaces, obviously. And then we have we have live streaming apps. So we have YouTube, we have Facebook Live, we also have LinkedIn Live, but we have Twitch. So YouTube is missing that community. Now, I don't know if you guys remember when YouTube was popping for millennials, when you had all of the YouTubers that are now like completely banned from the platform. That demographic is now on Twitch. Now, you might think Twitch is like just for gamers. It's no longer just for gamers. They have crafts, podcasts, music, all types of things. And literally you could sit there all day and create a craft and do a how-to, and people will respond to you, people will talk to you, and people just want to see your process. It's the same thing as YouTube. They want to see what people are doing. How can they do something and I'm not doing it type of vibe. So try to think of some of those platforms. Obviously, there's others. There's Reddit, which is great for service-based businesses. I think people sometimes miss out on Reddit when it comes down to affiliate marketing and mainly promoting your business. Going on Reddit, answering questions from people. There's plenty of questions out there that people are asking tax professionals and things like that, and then plugging your business within that. And also remembering that places like Yelp are also social apps. They're social review apps. So you have to pay attention to those too, especially when you're looking for content and you're trying to social listen overall. So we're going to talk about authentic content creation. So when we say authentic, like, I think it's a trigger word because we're like, what is authentic? What is real type of vibe? So when we think about authentic, we think about content that relates to your target audience's lifestyle, that makes them feel like you are a part of them. So the first thing you have to think of is your brand voice. So your brand voice is the way that your company communicates through messaging and personality. And obviously this can be used in the tone, the language, and the style that you can then use in marketing materials, any type of customer service interactions or communications. When you have a brand voice, I think sometimes people get brand voice mixed up with their own opinions. So here are some do's and don'ts of brand voice. So you want to make sure your brand voice is very consistent and really reflects the personality of your brand. And you want it to be very clear. You want to use language that your target audience understands, that they relate to. Obviously, we don't want to sound too salesy. We definitely want to sound like we are their friend, their partner, their Conrad type of vibe. So you have to be aware and you have to do the research to really figure out how to talk to your audience. But one thing that people sometimes get confused is, unless you are an influencer or you're a service-based business where you are the only employee, you are not individually your brand voice. Your brand voice, if you have more than one employee, needs to encompass the business as a whole. So yeah, your beliefs can be embedded into your brand, but you have to put into the perspective of, if you are the service provider. So if I was a tax professional, my target audience is not tax professionals. So I need to do research to figure out what my voice should be, because if I talk in my own voice, I'm talking to tax professionals. Same thing as a marketer. I sometimes have to step back for Fearless and be like, the way I'm talking to social media managers. I need to be talking to small business owners, and that reflects in my brand's tone and voice. So always remember that you can have aspects of yourself in your brand voice, but remember, it needs to resonate with your target audience and what they really need to hear and what they really understand. So a great way to figure out your brand voice is to do this thing called the celebrity test. So yes, we obviously want to do the full brand strategy. We want to do the adjectives. We want to do the practices, but this is a great way to create something that you can use as a refresher when you're going through a time where you're like, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to say. I don't really know what words to use. So one of the brands I work with, an example that they came up with, the humor and wit of Will Smith and the boldness of Lizzo. So if I'm ever in a rut and I'm like, I don't really know what I should write about, like what words should I use, what terminology, what I would do is I would go on Lizzo's Instagram and see, what is Lizzo saying? What terms is she using? What terminology is she using? What type of things is she posting? What do we mean by bold when we talk about Lizzo? Same thing with Will Smith. What kind of jokes is he using? Obviously right now, we don't know, but what kind of jokes is he using? How is he communicating? How is he talking? And figure out, how do we encompass that in our brand if we feel like these celebrities are really close to that. So I want to give you guys an opportunity in the chat, if you guys can like drop what you think, what celebrity do you think that your brand encompasses in your brand's tone and voice?
Yeah, I love this celebrity test. I just want to chime in here for one sec. I think it's such a great way for us to get playful with social media as well, and help us all, especially as we translate, if we're not going to be the ones executing our social media, how do we teach other teams, to adopt our tone and voice? And so especially if you can pick somebody that we all kind of know the vibe of, that can go really far. And so, another way to ask this is like, who would play your brand in a movie, And so if you have any thoughts or ideas, definitely drop them in the chat, because I love hearing everybody's answers to these questions.
You guys can just keep dropping them in the chat. I'm going to keep going, and we can look at them at the end in the Q&A too. So next is the audience research. So one thing about audience research is it's a step that a lot of people like to skip, but you never want to skip it. Like, I know some people are so anxious, like, I want to create content. But if you don't do the audience research, creating content is going to be 100% harder. And this is going to make it extremely easier. So here are some ideas. So the first is surveys. So doing Instagram polls and Twitter polls. And I don't mean like Instagram polls of the next product, should we do a green or a blue? Not that. Really thinking about other things, other habits, other traits, other things that your customers do to really learn about what they want. For example, I work with a friend, she has a swimsuit line, and we ask questions that have nothing to do with swimsuits. We ask questions about like, what type of makeup look do you like? You like glam or minimalistic? And that shows us a little bit of what type of content or what type of collaborations we should do for giveaways and things like that. Another one that's very interesting is the Starbucks one. So we did a questionnaire where it was Starbucks or Dunkin'. Obviously, your audience picks Starbucks. With Starbucks, we know there's certain notations that go with that. There's a certain lifestyle, like they might have more of a disposable income. They might be more particular about their coffee type and things like that. And so we took that information and said, what kind of content can we make with swimsuits that relates to Starbucks? Like, how can we coordinate that to make sense? So what we thought was, well, if I'm a Starbucks lover or coffee lover, when I'm traveling and I go to the airport, the first thing I do is grab my Starbucks drink, you know? How does that relate to travel? Well, we travel with bathing suits. So a pack with me, a travel with me, and incorporating that Starbucks drink in the end. And also thinking even more out the box. So you take the swimsuit, you go to Starbucks, you ask a barista, you say, hey, can you make me a drink that emanates like this swimsuit? Have the barista make it. That puts you in two different algorithms. That puts you in the algorithm, obviously, what you've been in the swimsuit algorithm, but that also puts you in the algorithm of Starbucks. Somebody might see that Starbucks content and say, this is interesting, this is funny, this is catchy, this is like something that I vibe with. I never thought I needed this swimsuit, but let me follow them because maybe eventually they might have something that I would like to buy. That's a way of thinking outside of the box when it comes down to creating content, instead of doing a bunch of product images over and over and over again, because you have to remember that your audience is not one dimensional. They are a complex group of human beings that have different needs and wants, and it shifts at times. The next thing is focus groups. And we all kind of know what a focus group is. You put a bunch of people in a room, you have a conversation, you ask them about the different things that they like about your brand, but obviously go more in depth, habits, lifestyle, all of that stuff, and really encapsulate that and understand that and create content that makes sense for that. Social listening. We'll talk about social listening in the next slide, but social listening is all about tracking conversations and trends. Then we have social analytics. So analyzing your social media interactions. One social media analytic program that I really like is called vidIQ, and it's for YouTube and it's for TikTok. And basically they do the standard things that they do as with analytics of like telling you the peak times, telling you when people stop watching, etc. But one thing they have that's very unique is they tell you what your viewers, what other content creators they are watching. Now, it might sound creepy, it might feel creepy, but as a business owner who is trying to do research, it tells you a lot about what type of content that you should be creating or you should try to be filtering out. So you go in, it tells you like, so-and-so watched this, they watched it for this long, they also watched this video from this creator, and you can sit there and look at the cuts, the sounds that they're using, the different motifs, the angles, the type of content that they're answering, and all that type of stuff, and try to implement that and obviously test that into your strategy. And then when it comes down to social listening. So social listening, I feel like is so underrated. Social listening and also social media engagement. I have seen that those are the two things that I feel like a lot of people feel like they can just like skimp on. You can't. So how do you social listen, right? Social listening is all about listening to what your customers are saying. And that's just not on your profile. So what this entails is analyzing your competition. So going on your competition's profile, seeing what other accounts they follow. So if they follow celebrities or things like that, making sure that you note that and understand maybe they already did the research and realize their target audience likes these types of things. Looking in their comments, looking how they're talking to their customers. Also tracking industry trends. We had a huge industry trend on Sunday. Sunday, Rihanna performed. Obviously, historically, when there is a good performance, social media blows up the next day with memes and all of these other things that just normally happen. as a marketer and as a business owner, you should already be prepared. Like, you should know that this is going to happen. But the complex part is figuring out, how do these trends that I am tracking relate to my business? And I have a few different examples here, like Chime. They did this, her song, and they did Better Have My Money. And then also Monday Hair Care, they went out and they did the next thing, which was engage with their customers and found tweets that they felt like their customers will really enjoy and really like. And that all comes from social listening. They realized that their customers cared about the Super Bowl. They also realized that their customers most likely cared about Rihanna through their audience research. And they said, we need to do a post about this. We know there's a trend coming up. Let's execute on that trend. And then evaluating performance. So posting Rihanna, we post her, a week passes, 2 weeks pass, or whatever. We look at the data. We realize this performed very well. What are the string lines that come with what we posted? Obviously Rihanna. So maybe they like Taylor Swift, maybe they like Beyonce, but also Rihanna does beauty. Is there a connection with our audience in beauty? Is there some connection with those types of consumer goods? Or this was a big women empowerment moment. Does my audience enjoy women empowerment? And take the opportunity to figure out which ones you think you want to try, and try different things to see if there's a new piece of your audience that you haven't tapped into. So this one, now this is crucial. This is where Instagram is telling you to lower the bar. How do we lower the bar, but also create amazing content? And it's just not Instagram. Pinterest has kind of said the same thing. TikTok has always been a lower bar type of situation. Same thing with YouTube. YouTube values lower barred content. Everybody wants you to lower the bar because people don't want to watch these fancy produced videos. It seems like they only want to watch that on television, is what these social media platforms are telling us. So we're going to talk about crafting authentic visuals and crafting engaging copy. Chime does a beautiful job at this. Chime, if you don't know what Chime is, it is an untraditional banking system. So basically they target Gen Zs and millennials who are at the beginning of their financial career independently. So maybe their first debit card or their first like credit card, savings account away from their parents and not attached, which is where they focus on. Their demo mainly focuses on metro cities, probably people who are always on the go. Obviously their customers aren't eating at a 5-star restaurant every night or staying at the Ritz-Carlton. So they thought, well, how are our customers using Chime, and how we can make content that makes sense? So they started this series called Cheap Eats. So basically they go up to ATM, they put the Chime card in. So that's the, product placement. And then they show how you can utilize your funds when using Chime. So they eat at a cheap restaurant. And I think this video, they get like a $4.50 thing of pizza, and people liked it. They enjoyed it. And it's a series that they continue. Another thing to notice here too, is when it comes down to the first comment. So this is going to trail us back to social listening, right? So the first comment, she made a comment about the ATM. So Chime offers free ATMs with connected like businesses and partnerships that they have. So as a social media manager, as whoever's handling social media, I would look at that and say, okay, it's time for me to put my social listening ears on. They're saying they have a problem or they have a question or they have a concern. How can I make content around this? So for me, the next thing I would do is I would do the same format of me going onto the streets, because we're putting the product in a situation that is the same lifestyle as our consumer. And I would go out and I would videotape and walk into all of the different convenience stores or whatever that are nationally known that takes Chime and gives no charges for using the ATM. That would make sense to me. I reply to this person and say, hey, we made a reel explaining this type of content. Obviously, people are going to save because 1, it's a resource, and 2, it solves a problem. And 1, it's connected to something else that we had already been talking about. So that's one way to think about authentic content when it comes down to that. And that's a great example of social listening and really reading these comments and figuring out, okay, what can we create? How can we solve a problem? So the next one, we're going to talk about this lovely Black-owned brand. So this brand really understands their target audience to the T. So the caption says, book a solo trip while everyone else is in back to school season. Hashtag rich auntie vibes. This brand is putting their customer first in all of the ways. They know that one, their customer is probably of a age where you're supposed to have kids and they don't have kids. They probably prioritize themselves, self-care, travel, anything in that world. And this is a lot of terminology, like over social media, we had seen like a lot of people were saying, oh, rich auntie vibes, like disposable income, like I buy all my friends' kids, all of these gifts, you know, and this brand understood that, and they're speaking to their target audience. This brand is pretty expensive. So they know who they're talking to, but also with the visual that they're doing, the product is not centered inside of the photo. It's not a photo that's a product imagery photo. It's a face, it's a person, and it's really encompassing the lifestyle that a hashtag rich auntie would have. Being in a hotel with the robe, with the glossy skin, et cetera, et cetera. And it shows you like, maybe I need this product for my next travel. Maybe I need to have this or whatever. It makes you think, it makes your consumer think about like, what can I do and how can I implement this into my life? And then the next one, Riot Swim. So this is a great example of engaging copy. Now, Riot Swim had an issue when it came down to shipping out products, and it seemed like they had just the issue there. Instead of just putting the normal thing out or ignoring it, they addressed it. Riot Swim is very known for talking to you as a friend, talking to you as an equal. They did a really good job of here being empathetic, and also, you know, thanking people for their support, telling them what their next steps were, just as you would do if you disappointed a friend, which is great. And that's one thing you definitely want to put, especially when we're talking about authentic copy, engaging copy. We want people to feel like they can relate to us and understand us. And Riot Swim does a great job. Also, another Black-owned business, just saying. And then this example. So I picked this example for our people in the accounting industry. Madeline, you know, gave me this one. I like this one because it puts in this idea of mindfulness. When we look at content, when it comes down to accountants, it's mainly like numbers focused, resource focused, which is all great. And that is great content to put out because people want resources. They want to understand what they can do differently and how they can prepare for certain things. But it's always great to take a step back and show a human side. So in this post, it was a lot of conversation about mindful practice, and the way that it ends with a question really opens the conversation to the audience to be able to share what they feel, what they think, and just remind them like, you're human too, we're human. Let's all take a step back. Let's see and like reevaluate what we need to do for ourselves. So next we're going to move into the power of creators. I think that people really don't utilize the power of creators and influencers to its fullest potential. We have to remember that influencers and creators, they are still slightly new. Like they've been around maybe for 10 plus years in a more traditional sense. And it wasn't something that people needed for their businesses 10 years ago. 10 years ago, people just trust what the business owner said, but nowadays they need proof, they need reviews, they want to see different outlooks, they want to see different opinions, how it worked for different people. So it is crucial to have some type of social proof or engagement, but remembering that these types of posts make your feed feel organic, and it also creates social proof overall for your brand. So I want to talk about the different types and the differences between an influencer and a UGC creator. So a UGC creator, it stands for user-generated content. And it's completely different from an influencer. An influencer is focused on their influence, their brand, and what they bring to the table. They usually do large payment work. So they're not focused on the little small things, but they want to make sure whatever they put in front of their audience represents them in a good light. When it comes down to UGC creators, they're not worried about following. They're not worried about influence. They don't care about any of that. They are creating content for you. So what you say you want, they are creating it. They're not concerned about how they look, what they do. It's for you. The biggest thing about UGC creators is they do not post your content on their page. This content is exclusively for you to use for your business. Most of the time, they're open to gifted collabs or even smaller budgets when it comes down to payment. So how do we utilize these different pieces properly? So the first thing we're going to talk about is influencer. Influencers are great for larger campaigns and larger marketing pushes. If you're looking to leverage somebody's community, this is a great place to look. One, because they are very focused on the products and the services that they bring forward to their community and what they talk about. And also they're going to be picky. They're going to tell the truth. Yeah, they're gonna give you their community on a silver platter, basically. And they charge for that. And then also influencers are great for giveaways, promotions, affiliate marketing and partnerships and things like that. Now, when we look at creators, there are different tiers of creators. When we think about our middle, macro, and our celebrities, those are your big content creators. Now, one thing about big content creators, they might have all this following, they might have all this push or whatever, but are they engaged with their audience? When you have 50,000 followers, are they really engaging with you? Are they really talking to you? Are you really commenting back and having conversation with them? Because that's how you build audience, and you can't leverage an audience that's not engaged. So those larger people, they're great for exposure, but in the sense of convincing people to buy, it might be a little bit harder unless they're like a Kim K or like a Chloe or something like that, where people just like run to the store. But it might be a little bit harder because they're not as engaged. When it comes down to the micro and the nano, they might seem a little bit smaller, but they have great communities. They have people that they're communicating with, they're talking with, they are engaging with, they're making content that their customers or their community really actually wants, you know? So we have to focus on things like that when you're deciding what kind of budget you want, what kind of pieces you want to use, and things like that with your influencers. So next is UGC creators. So UGC creators are so powerful. UGC creators are great for expanding your library. So if you are looking for content to put onto your profiles, this is a great way to help expand your library. So with UGC creators, like I said before, they just only give you the photography, give you the photos to actually post. Now, remember with that saves you so much money when it comes down to product photo shoots, sending stuff out to influencers. Most of the time, these UGC creators will make this content for free. All they want is product. So this is a great opportunity to expand on your whole library and also create that social proof that you need to convince people to buy. All right. And then also the tools and the techniques. So I know people are like, well, where do you find these people? I don't want to pay, you know, a software thousands of dollars to put my ad onto their platform and create or whatever. There are a lot of free ways. UGC creators have 1 million Facebook groups, 1 million hubs where you can go and put the ask out to actually get content. You give the ask, you say what you're looking for, you get their portfolios, you get their media kits, you can talk to them, communicate with them, and really figure out like what you guys need to do to get this done. It's a free way, it's an easy way. You don't have to subscribe to all of those different platforms. Another way to look for influencers is literally just a simple Instagram or TikTok search. TikTok is doing a great job at SEO. If you're looking for a certain type of creator, just type it in. You might think it might not pop up, but it probably will. And make sure when you engage with any type of influencer that you check their engagement rates with free software. At the end of this presentation, when you guys get all the slides and stuff, I'm also going to include a influencer checklist that you can go through. It also has like some links to show you like the engagement tools that you can use to look for their engagement rate. And also it tells you engagement rate based on industry too. So you can make sure you're making the right choices for your business. Now, how do we assess creators and influencers? Now, creators and influencers, it's hard. It's hard to assess because it is a long game. We have to realize that influencers are not salespeople. The purpose of you working with an influencer is to give your brand more awareness. So yes, you should see some return on your investment. Yes, you should track your ROI. Yes, you should do all those things, but always have in mind that their job is not a salesperson. Their job is to influence their community to at least consider your brand or at least give exposure to your brand. But sealing the deal is made on your website and in your other marketing. Now, these are some things you can look at. So obviously impressions. So how many people looked at the piece of content that you guys put out? Landing page views. Landing page views are powerful. If you create a custom link for your influencer, you can always take the traffic that comes from their link, do Facebook ads, and retarget those customers over and over and over again. Like I said before, the point is we want the influencer to expose people to your brand, bring them back to your website, and then that's where your marketing needs to start shining. You can also check engagement rates, so how many people engage with the actual content. If it wasn't converting, why did it engage so well? Is it the type of content we use? Is it the type of color of the hair, the cuts, the motifs? Like, what was it that made people engage with it but didn't make them convert? So that is an opportunity to actually do some readjusting to the current content to see how can we improve it. Also, return on ad spend. That's a great way to see if like you actually broke even. How do you do it next time? Was this influencer even worth it, you know, from an ads perspective, and also how many new customers? But again, these ROIs and measuring these ROIs are a long-term game. It's not something that you're going to just magically post it and it's just going to happen. We have to give it some time, give it some length, and let it see what it actually does. And then next, we're going to talk about societal mindset shifts. So like I was saying at the beginning of this presentation, a few months ago, everyone said, I'm leaving Instagram. I'm not doing this anymore. Instagram isn't giving me any type of push, any type of reach. It's not doing anything for me. And that's slowly starting to happen again. But what do you do when you've crafted your whole business on Instagram? You know, everybody wants to leave Instagram. What do you do as a business owner? We're going to talk about that. So the first thing you have to think to yourself is, what does my audience want? What are their values? What are they looking for? And then what can I do? So a great example of this is Lush. Lush is a well-known company. They have stores everywhere. And Lush is completely off of social media. They have gotten rid of their social medias. They said they're not worried about it. They listened to their customers. They decided that their customers also were having this grief from social media. So they left. I haven't seen any in the news saying Lush is like going downhill. So obviously they must be doing decent. So we're not all Lushes. We don't have 4 million, followers. They can probably take a break. They can probably go leave social media and be fine. But what do we do? What statement do we make? So first, realize that it's okay to take a break from social media. It is perfectly fine to take a break from social media. If you mentally need one, if you feel like your brand and your audience is saying these types of things, take a break. It's okay. If you don't want to take a break, the next thing you could do is provide resources. If your audience is saying that we need this, I need this, we're going through this, all this stuff is going on. We've seen a lot of brands give out a lot of resources. There was this one brand that they saw that people were talking a lot about mental health and a lot about mental health issues. They started a partnership with Black Girl Therapy, where Black Girl Therapy was offering free therapy sessions. They tracked their content to talk more about mental health, more ways that you could walk away from social media, take a break, go outside. They started making Reels content and Instagram story content that was saying like, pause, have you been outside? Have you drunk your water? Yada, 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 to really help their audience understand that they hear them. Another great example, because I know some people feel like this has nothing to do with their brand, but this is a great example. Megan Thee Stallion. Meg Thee Stallion came out with a whole website. I think it was called like Baddies Have Bad Days Too. That was full of resources for mental health, how to take a break. They had the suicide hotline, all that stuff on there for all these mental health things. Megan Thee Stallion is a musical artist. Megan Thee Stallion might have been having issues with her mental health, but she also knew that her baddies also was having problems with their mental health. And that goes back to social listening, like listening to your audience. What are they saying? What are they feeling? And figuring out how can you be helpful, even if it's a recommendation, even if it's a push, to another direction. Another thing is staying relevant in a fast-paced environment. So like I said before, you're asking yourself, I dedicated all this time to Instagram and building this loyal following and doing all these things. And then everybody tells me, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to leave. This is why you diversify your platforms. I know it might be a lot to feel like you have to be everywhere. You don't have to be everywhere. But just like you diversify your investments, you need to diversify your platforms. Even if it's just having a handle, if it's even just posting once a day on Twitter or something like that, have another home other than just one platform, because Instagram can disappear tomorrow and you'll never see it again. Another way to stay relevant when it comes down to actual content, and I do this for Fearless Foundry, is follow brands that are similar to you. I know people kind of get shocked and confused when all these random trends pop up, and you're like, well, how did people even know this existed? And it's because they're following trendsetters. For Fearless Foundry, I'm following Elvis, Girl Boss, Refinery 29, and I engage because, like, we go back to the engagement portion of the conversation, which is important. I'm engaging with them. So the first thing that pops up on my feed is their content. So if they post something that's a trend, I know it exists. I need to hop on it and I need to create it. That is how you stay relevant. That's how you stay up to date with a lot of these trends that people feel like they're missing. But again, you need to engage. You need to be a part of the community, because again, Instagram and all these other platforms are rewarding you for being a part of the community. You'll know the trends exist because you're a part of the community. The next one is adapting your messaging to fit the changes of trends. So I love this one. This is also from Monday Hair Care, and it's about plants. Now, over the last few years, Monday Hair Care is pretty new. Their main focus is millennials, Gen Zs, that vibe. They started talking about plants. And one day I was like, why are they talking about plants and killing plants? Like, what are they talking about? I realized it was because their target audience, they realized through their research that their target audience liked plants. And they were a part of like these plant baby groups and all these other things. So they started adapting their messaging to be a little bit more in that world of, we're going to talk about common things that our people are talking about. So being able to adapt, like, this is always going to change. You have to pay attention. You have to listen. You have to be in the world. And again, if you're doing the engagement and you're doing the social listening, you'll get this information so quick and it will be like clockwork. And this is another example. When people move to BeReal, it's another Megan Thee Stallion example, but this idea of hot girl summer, they made it relate to hair care, which is great. And I love the caption where it says, it's time to be real. You have to just stay to par. You have to pay attention. You have to listen to trends, but again, that happens with engagement. And that is why engagement is so important. Even if you do it for 30 minutes every single week, it is so important. So the last part of our webinar, we're going to talk about experiences. Experiences that bring us onto social media and experiences that bring us off of social media into the real world. So we want to think out of the box. Like, there's never, like Kanye was saying, there's never an original idea. It's just an adaptation of one. So we're going to take other ideas and we're going to put a spin on them. And we're going to think out the box and create something signature for our brand that nobody else is doing. So here are some ideas, but stay with me. These look basic, but they're not. So giveaways. Everybody does giveaways. Everybody says like, comment, post, whatever. And that is like the stigmatization of the giveaway. I work with the brand where we put a spin on the giveaway. We said, yeah, go ahead and like it, go ahead and comment it. But if you want an extra entry, go ahead and send us a picture of you at the festival. And also, if you're on Instagram, DM us a picture. On Instagram, we actually set up a auto response. So when they went to go and send us the picture, the auto response was like, excited, like, thank you so much. This is great, yada, yada, yada. And then it was, did you get your ticket yet for this year's festival? Here's the link. So getting a little bit more creative. It also gave us more content for our actual platform. So people was giving us more things to post. Also, when we post those things and we tag them, they're going to be excited. They're going to be like, oh my God, somebody's sharing me. So they're going to get excited. They're going to repost. It's just a phenomenon. It also helps to build community. And it also puts a spin on a giveaway idea than just the like, share, follow type of thing. Also, audio conversations. Audio conversations are a great way to create community. These are the types of things you think about when you are not in the weeds of your business, where you can work and talk at the same time, because people want to interact. People want to interact with the owner. They want to ask questions. They want to be direct. Like this webinar, when we get to the question part, like people who ask questions, they want this interaction. They want to, in live color, hear from me and hear like the answers that I have. So think about audio apps, think about connecting with other creators who also have an audio app presence on these platforms, and engage with their community, give resources. There are so many like houses on Clubhouse that talk about AI, talk about technology, talk about taxes, talk about the news, talk about education, that are so engaged with so many people. So try to figure out how you can implement that into your strategy as creative content. And then the next one is live video content. So Facebook has Facebook Shopping Live, but I've recently seen a brand bring it to the next level. So what they do is every single day on the weekday, they do a live shopping video. In this live shopping video, it's never the same person. So they have, I think they have 4 or 5 different individuals that actually do the live shopping pieces. They have different types of shopping that they do, different body types, different styles, and they do live shopping online for their customers to come and buy their products. And it's really cool because if you like, you know, Susie Soso comes on every single Tuesday because I connect with Susie Soso. She looks like me. I like her vibe. I like the way she talks. I like the styles that she puts together. And also I can interact with her and say, hey, do they have that in blue? Hey, do they have that in green? Do you guys have that in your store right now? Can you put it on hold? And you have somebody obviously moderating, getting all of that information for you. The last one is polls. So we talked a little bit about earlier the survey situation. One thing that a lot of people aren't utilizing on Instagram is Instagram Reels with polls. You can do so much with Instagram polls. So now you can add them to a reel. Then you can take that reel and make it a story. It converts better because it's showing up on someone's actual feed and it's showing up in their story. And if you make it something that's really good and really captivating and really like, you know, clickbaity, you'll get a lot of awesome responses, but definitely creating content that's really engaging to your audience. And then we have leveraging AR and VR. Now, this is definitely a newer concept, especially with the metaverse coming into play, but it is something that people really need to start investing in and figuring out, how do I get in these spaces? So when it comes down to augmented reality, one thing that we do have access to right now is filters. There's a brand right now who is connecting with chefs and different like food content creators, where they do this thing where it's like the food thing, and it'll say like pick a bread, and then like the bread will go and then pick a vegetable, and the vegetable will go, and then these creators will then create content based on the food that the filter picks for them. And when you actually go look at the filter, it's actually created by a food brand. So finding ways to use those to leverage your audience, and you can obviously repost that content. If you are a brand and you make that filter, you could be like, oh, they're using our filter. Look at the awesome meal that they created. Also, filters also are not hard to make. There are a lot of people on Fiverr that make them. You can make them yourself, but it is something to start looking in. Same thing with virtual reality in the metaverse. McDonald's is going into the metaverse to give different types of experience. We have a client right now that's actually in the metaverse doing banned book readings for education, and we do some cross promoting with that on social and bring people to that space. So really think about how you can invest time. Obviously, it is a new thing, and it is something that you're just going to have to learn, but it is something to really look in. Oh man, my picture didn't load. All right, for the last one, integrating the physical world into the digital world. So a lot of people think just because you're on social media, you have to stay into this digital space when you really don't. You can expand out. So one thing in the example that was here, it was actually from a drink brand that is focused on focus on like what is it? Digestive health. And they realized that their target audience also was into yoga. So they did a collab with a yoga brand to help bring more awareness into the actual physical world. And if you're not a big brand and you can't do a brand deal like that, you can do something simple. You can say, hey, we're going to the park. We're doing a meetup at the park on such and such day to do some mindfulness, some yoga, or we're doing like this meetup at this new restaurant. I know one app where they do meetups at restaurants every single month to expose their audience to new things. So think about how you can bring that digital community into a physical community. So yes. All right, so we're gonna open the floor for questions.
Wow is all I want to say, first of all, because I mean, I know I kind of told y'all at the top of the hour, but clearly Allena knows her shit, and clearly she's a baddie when it comes to social media. Everybody's smiling and nodding. So first of all, Allena, like, thank you for all of that beautiful wisdom. There are some questions I saw come through, and so I want to bring those up first and foremost. And then please, if you have a burning question, go ahead and throw those in the chat. So one that I thought was great from Cecily, she had a clarifying question about, you were talking about a service for social analytics, mostly for TikTok and YouTube. Could you just share a little bit, Allena, about the platforms that both we use at Fearless and the ones you recommend for people for social media analytics?
Yeah, so for social media analytics, for Fearless, we use, it's called Metricool. So it is a newer platform. It is a UK-based platform, but the way that they actually display your analytics, so you can link everything. You can even link a Twitch account. You can link your Google business account. You can link everything and it will like populate reports, show you all of your metrics up and down. It also shows you who unfollowed you, who followed you, the hashtags that are performing well for your content. So that's what we use internally. Externally, that's my favorite platform. Like it's called Metricool. So it's metric and then like cool, like COOL. And that's what we use for Fearless. That's what oh no, it's COOL.
Yeah, the autocorrect keeps trying to change it for me.
But that one's a good one. If you're looking for something that is free and accurate, I would say just stick to the traditional platforms. The traditional platforms do have great analytics, but it's all about getting them together and like looking at them all at once. That's the difficult part. But I definitely recommend Metricool across the board. So
okay. Awesome. Another thing that I just thought that was interesting that was shared in the chat by Leslie was she was saying, you know, our business is very community oriented. We're trying to appeal to many generations, but realize most of our analytics are showing 45 plus. What questions might we ask to glean more info about what these folks want and what their interests are so they can be more targeted? And my guess is that kind of the underlying question here, Leslie, is you're also trying to reach a broader audience as well, right? And so it's like, and feel free to unmute yourself, Leslie, too, if you want to clarify anything here that you want to ask Allena, because now is your moment.
Yeah, so our business, it's called Live Well Kids App, which is my county, and it's well-being focused. It's an online well-being resource site. We've very recently started going, more offline. We've started a networking group. We're organizing like a hike that's just open to the community. But what's always top of mind is like when I think surveys and polls, what specific questions could I be asking so that we know we're hitting the mark in terms of how we're targeting not only the 45 and older group, but how to bring in different generations.
Mm-hmm. So definitely the questions need to be more interest-based. So like you obviously know if they're interested in what you're doing, but ask them like, what books are you reading? What TV shows are you watching? What old movies? Because those types of things, one thing I'm learning from one of the businesses I work with is that their clientele likes this like old movie. It's like a variation of like Breakfast Club. So doing content around Breakfast Club is engaging to them because we realized through the market research that that was something that they liked and enjoy. These questions might feel non-related at all, but when you start implementing them into your strategy, like it will resonate, because the whole purpose of social media and getting people into your business is having them feel like it resonates with them. So getting as much information as possible will definitely like help. Does that answer your question?
Awesome. Such a great question too. I think this is very interesting. We've had this, research and what I will say is like, Allena monitors and leads all of our analysis, like I said, for both ourselves and all of our clients. And it is really cool to watch as you shift your strategy and you ask these questions, how suddenly your audience, it's like one of those things where marketing feels like magic. You're like, our audience is the people we are aiming to attract. So it's such a cool thing to watch as the strategy shifts those demographics over time in the data. Great question here from Belinda. So good to see you, Belinda, too. We're so excited you're on the webinar. So her question is similar to Leslie. What would you recommend for an upper luxury organic skincare brand? Average customer is 43 plus. Her goal is to drive sales. So we know a little bit about Coco Bernat. And if you don't know about Coco Bernat, please go check out this brand. Super gorgeous luxury. Belinda's building something so beautiful. But yeah, Allena, if you were to get your hands on that strategy, what would you say?
Yeah, I definitely think if you've done the normal stuff, like the product push and all that other stuff, it would be that influencer UGC creator piece. So when people think about skincare, they think about anything that's luxury. They want to feel the luxuriousness of it. They want to see it. They want to experience it. They want to figure out how does it fit into my lifestyle, and getting that user generated content, making those partnerships and really creating content that relates to your audience is what needs to happen. I don't know if you are doing like I was just saying to Leslie, like the content of like movies, books. One of the examples I took out of this presentation, which I wish I'd have kept now, was from Monday Hair Care, where they started a post about Zoom calls and Gossip Girl because they knew their clients, their customers were Gossip Girl lovers, and they knew that they were possibly working from home on Zoom during the pandemic, and they felt like those types of comments related to their customers. So what I would recommend is, if you don't have a UGC strategy or an influencer strategy or something like that, I would focus on trying to start creating that type of content to get the visuals of this is how it works in your lifestyle, this is how it could fit, but also to say with the 43 and up demographic, the next question I want to ask is like, what platforms are you on? Because if it's Instagram, are those people on Instagram? Like where is that audience and where are they living? And also like, even if they are on Instagram, what type of content are they taking in on Instagram too? Because we also have to say Facebook. So Facebook is where they're at. Facebook is doing a great job of prioritizing Reels content. My mom, she is like 59, 50. I shouldn't tell her age, but she's 50. And when she discovered Reels on Facebook, it was like mind blowing to her. And I was like, Mom, this has been on Instagram for months. But she was like, this is so easy, like to like take in content. So maybe looking at those different platforms and how you can elevate platforms that your target audience might be on. Not saying they're not on Instagram, but you might have to do some migration to tell them, hey, I'm on Instagram. Just don't follow like your kids and your cousin, like come and follow a brand too, because it is habit for older people on Instagram. From what Instagram tells you is they're actually using the platform the way Instagram wants you to use it. They're actually showing pictures of like their family, their friends, like, they're doing it for that purpose. So you need to tell them, hey, we're here, come follow us. We know you have us on Facebook, let's move to Instagram, but you also have to show them how can you implement our product into your lifestyle, and coming up with creative ways on how to display that other than just product photography, pretty people, like get out of the box. Like, that's how I think about it. And it's sometimes hard for a business owner to do it, but that is why UGC creators and other people who are not directly in your business can completely elevate it and really think of these crazy ideas that can really make things pop. So
I love this feedback too from Kim from the Fearless team. What would you save / bookmark on Instagram? What content would you love? And just like be like, I would have to share this with a girlfriend. Like, we all know on these platforms, we have to have, you know, those threads, right, with our besties where we're passing, you know, memes, or we're sharing a product, or we're like, oh my gosh, you know, like the 3 things that pop up in my group thread the most are something we find hilarious, something that we're like, oh my gosh, this is so you, right? So it's like content like that. The second is a product that we are so obsessed with, we want to pass back and forth and say like, oh my gosh, they're having it on sale, or they're having a deal. Remember that thing I told you about? Go get it now. And the third is giveaways. My girlfriend's always like, we have kind of this top list of people that we go to who we know we won't be mind being tagged in giveaways. But then I'm like, oh shoot, I need to hop on the giveaway too. And so it starts this like giveaway train. So I think this is such good advice. We're just getting a lot of like really good feedback in the chat. Everyone's saying this is so helpful. This is so helpful. So just for the sake of honoring everybody's time, does anyone have any additional questions to ask before we wrap up here? And don't worry, we're going to tell you all about kind of the takeaway materials as well. All right, I'm going to keep an eye out for those, but Allena, you want to gather up our last pieces here?
All right, so if you're looking for more support, we definitely will have the downloadable in the email. It's definitely just a checklist of how to utilize influencers. I also put some links to some articles that have different types of contracts, email templates and things like that. But if you're needing more help, Fearless Foundry, we do marketing for social media. We do execution and strategy and influencer marketing. So definitely, you know, get into our world. We also have a library with all types of content for social, for business dev, all those types of pieces. And also, Madeline is doing this awesome coaching circle called Figure 8, where she's going to have a bunch of leaders together and they're going to talk about different topics over the next 8 months, which is great. So
yeah, and I'll just say here, you know, the library is where we house our materials like this. So believe it or not, over the past 5 years, our team has produced, I think it's over 100 different pieces of training content. And so the library is where those pieces live. And it is a super, super accessible way to get access to resources. Some of the stuff is just totally free to check out, and some things are like $5. And so I would highly recommend you check out the library and share it with a friend too, if you know anyone who would benefit from this kind of content. Obviously, y'all are on our list already, so we're going to continue to do different trainings throughout the course of the year. But if you want to go deeper with this topic, schedule a free consult with our team. You know, we will deep dive with you to kind of give some suggestions as to where you could go next. And Figure 8, as Allena mentioned, this is my mastermind program. So this is my inner circle that I offer for female founders that are looking to scale sustainably. It's launching in March. We only have space for 20 people. We actually have 12 folks signed up already. So if you're looking for just a community really of fellow female founders that are going to grow with you. We spend 8 months focusing on the topics of branding, marketing, business development, pricing, sales, operations, well-being, finances. Just, it's a really, really great community for female founders. So if you're interested in that, there is going to be a link in all of your takeaways. And as Allena mentioned, she made an awesome takeaway resource that is a powerful checklist that you all can use to take these ideas and turn them into action. So I haven't seen any other questions come through, but if anyone else has anything they want to ask, feel free to pop that in. But otherwise, we'll just stay on for a few more moments and wish you all like a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. It's so good to see some familiar faces on here too. So take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. And if you have any remaining questions, feel free to let us know. All right. Bye, y'all. Okay. Let me end the recording.